Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, complete choral warm-up book. Happy birthday to you. This was my very first warm-up book when I was a young choral conductor of a high school program back in the 90s. As a matter of fact, it was published in 1995. And I realized looking back at the book that my personal warm-up philosophy and techniques I learned using this book. Let's take a look here. There's a great section on why we warm up, warm-ups for different age groups. There's a section here on warm-up procedures before performance and that type of thing, the importance of rest in the voice. Physical warm-ups, we should always start with some sort of stretching, and there's a good section on that. Vowel formation. This, I remember there are wonderful photographs in this section. And my students, we would pass out handheld mirrors and sort of check our vowel formations against the photos in this book. Nowadays, you could do that, of course, with a cell phone camera. And then they go into 211 different warm-ups that are all completely explain the hows, the whys, and the procedures to teaching and getting the most out of the exercises. Gosh, including exercises here that are in parts chordally. You see those there. Warm-ups about interval training. Ooh, jazz, pop, and swing warm-ups. There's a philosophy in this book that if you're going to be rehearsing a pop song, why would you sing a classical warm-up just before that? Do a jazz warm-up. So very, very cool book. Let me actually, I'm going to change the view here to a two-page view because the way the book is organized, the facing pages give us some information. So flipping down a little bit through this thing, let me see where we get. Yeah, here we have our beginning warm-ups. You see what is on the left is a description of how to get the most of the exercise notated on the right. So look with me at number 4, for example. It's this exercise of wee-oh, 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 wee. And the description says this one really works the tongue. E-oh, e-oh, e-oh. Yes, it does. Form the wee with an oo on the lips to prevent that spread, right? Ooh, and an E inside the mouth. Wee! Once you've mastered that, all that should happen is the jaw and tongue drop to form the O. Wee-oh, 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 wee. Yeah, and if we pay close attention to the E, the O takes care of itself. Neat. Let me keep going here. There's a whole chapter here on beginning warm-ups. Then they get to the transitional warm-ups, and each chapter tells you sort of why, the whys, to increase vocal flexibility, to expand the vocal range, to work on rhythms, to work on intervals, to continue to develop breath support and awareness of the diaphragm as it relates to voices, and to begin working on phrasing. All right, let's take a peek at some of these. Oh, this very first one, they talk about how lots of instrumentalists do this exercise, and it's equally effective for singers. Here's the key of C. Getting the intervals. Let's see how I do. Not bad. Could use a little work, but really works on tuning and learning those intervals. I like that they suggest if you're struggling with a certain interval in your repertoire, just do this exercise right in the middle of rehearsal if you have to review the important intervals that you're working on. Transitional warm-ups. I actually want to skip ahead here to the end of the book because there's some pretty neat stuff here. In the index, you can see that they've actually listed by number all the different, whoops, let me get back there. Don't know how I skipped ahead. All of the different categories of warm-ups. So there's breath support and choral blend and chords and consonants and all this stuff, the musical style ones. Gosh, I remember a jazz one we used to do from this book. It goes do-ba-do-bop, 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 bop, dwee-bop. Working on those jazz articulations and stuff like that. Warm-ups for other than unison voices. So there are chordal warm-ups. Let me actually see if I can find one here to show you. I'm going to try to find page 68 is what I put on my notes here. Can I get up to 68 pretty easily here? And it happens to be number 68 is the number. So there's a whole section on chordal warm-ups, and here it comes. Check this out. Your soprano's saying, and the altos have, and the tenors have, and the basses have. Once everybody knows their parts, it goes together into this beautiful harmony. Number 69 is just in 3 voice parts. If your choir is a 3-part group. And 70 transitions easily into a 2-part by singing just the top 2 parts. And getting back to the very end of this book one more time, I love to sort of summarize the book with this. They give you some suggested sequences of warm-ups. Here's how to get the very best out of your warm-up time for various types of choirs you see, and they give you numbers of exercises to go find and put together a sequence. But here's what I think is a really great overriding philosophy for choosing your warm-up sequence. In general, these are organized in the following order: a beginning warm-up, followed by a warm-up to emphasize vowels, then a warm-up to emphasize consonants, a warm-up to emphasize phrasing, and then a chordal warm-up. Additionally, you might want to finish the warm-up sequence with one in the style of your first rehearsal piece. Isn't that a great philosophy? If you don't know this book, the Complete Choral Warm-Up Book, I highly recommend it. I feel like it is the Bible of choral warm-ups, the Complete Choral Warm-Up Book.